يدعو للعلم وللعمل لا شيء سوى.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. The Quran is the word of Allah Azza wa Jal. This is from Allah the Almighty. Nothing in it, not even a single letter, is from other than Allah the Almighty. Now, in order for us to understand the Quran, it is not something that one can do without thoroughly pondering upon it. Allah says in the Quran, "This is a book which we have sent down to you, full of blessings, that they may ponder over its verses, and that man of understanding may remember." So we know that it is blessed, and blessing comes only from Allah Azza wa Jal. He is the source of blessings, and this book is blessed because it is from Allah. And the blessing is displayed when you recite it. You can see the blessing in your life. You can see the blessing in the tranquility you find in your heart. You can see the blessings of the Quran and the peace you enjoy in life. But it was revealed so that the men would ponder upon these verses. And how would I ponder? Well, this is the essence of the science known as Tafseer. Tafseer of Qur'an means, in simple English, explaining the Quran. And one would say, do I have to have someone explain the Quran to me? And the answer is yes. Because this is from Allah the Almighty. In general terms, everyone can understand it. So verses like, do not approach fornication. Anyone on the street, when I tell him this, he says, okay, illegal sexual acts are forbidden in Islam. When Allah says that gambling and intoxicants, etc., are all the works of shaitan, of Satan, so stay away, refrain from it. Anyone on the streets, even if he's not a rocket scientist, even if he's a layman, or even an illiterate, would listen to it and say, okay, it's prohibited for Muslims to gamble and to consume intoxicants. When Allah says, worship Him and do not associate others with Him, anyone would know that if you say that Jesus is the Son of God, or He's one out of three, then he knows that this is associating others with God. This is shirk. So we believe in the Quran. However, there are some technical aspects that need scholars to explain. And that is why Allah says, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ. Ask those of remembrance, those of knowledge, if you do not know. So you have to ask. The Prophet told us in so many places that you have to ask. Therefore, the science of tafsir is one of the greatest sciences of Islam. And sciences of Islam are divided into two types. Types that are known as sciences of the tools or the equipment. And what is that? Are we into mechanics? No. See, to understand Islam, there are auxiliary, supplementary sciences that are not studied for their own sake, that would draw you closer to Allah, but rather to help you understand what draws you closer to Allah. For example, Arabic language. If a student studies Arabic, is he studying something that is leading him to Jannah? The answer is no. We have Jews and Christians studying Arabic. It would not lead them to Jannah, definitely. If you study the science of tajweed, of how to recite the Quran, and how to say the ghunna and the ikhfa and the different aspects of tajweed, again, this is not meant for itself, but it helps to perfect your recitation of the Quran. علم النحو والصرف, the grammatical and the linguistics of Arabic. Again, this helps, but it is not intended for itself. Tafseer, the commentary, the explanation of the Quran, this is meant for itself. It is a science that leads you straight to Allah Azza wa Jal. Why is that? Because it studies the meanings of the Quran, what is not so clear to the people, and what is meant by its verses. It studies the rulings of the Quran, what is halal and what is haram. It explains what happened to the previous generations, and it is giving you the glad tidings of what awaits you in paradise, and it threatens the disbelievers of what awaits them in hellfire. It is a description of Allah the Almighty. How would we know Allah the Almighty if it weren't for this noble Quran? Allah Azza wa Jal is describing Himself to us in the Quran. So we know that He is glorified, the Almighty, that He is praiseworthy, that He is all-seeing, all-hearing. We know that He is over His throne on the seventh heaven, over paradise. We know that He is the Most High, the Exalted. Nothing is over Him, the Almighty. We know that He is so powerful and so great. All of this we find in the Quran. So the science of tafsir is the most of all sciences in elevation and priority. Allah Azza wa Jal has told us, I've revealed the Quran for you to ponder upon the verses. So your first priority is to know what the Quran is. And it also gives you a lot of confidence when you recite the Quran and try to implement it. Because just simply the recitation of the Quran and pondering upon it is not something to be praised if you're not going to implement it. So someone who recites the Quran, someone who understands the Quran, but still involves in riba, uses interest money, usually, and he fornicates, and he consumes intoxicants. Someone who recites the Quran and knows the tafsir of each and every ayah, but he still lies, he cheats, he backbites, he does cruel things and evil things, then this is not sufficient. So the science of tafsir gives you the meanings. It leads you to the way, but you have to walk the talk, and you have to implement this in your life. And that is why the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, as was narrated by their students, they said that they used to tell us that we, as the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, used to learn 10 verses of the Quran and would not go to the following 10 until we understand the meaning of these 10 verses, implement them in our lives, and have a strong conviction in them. Then we move on to learning the following 10 verses. And that is why it was reported that Abdullah ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, one of the great scholars of the companions, he memorized and perfected chapter 2, Surah Al-Baqarah, in 8 years. And this is astonishing, because people can memorize the surah in, let's say, a couple of weeks. But he took 8 years because he pondered upon each and every verse. And he implemented that in his life. So it's not the knowledge that is sufficient. It is what you do with that knowledge, because this is what you will be held accountable for on the day of judgment. And Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, may Allah be pleased with him, said to one of his companions, today you are among a lot of knowledgeable people and few that recite the Quran, few qaris, but soon you will see a time where you have few knowledgeable people, few scholars, and plenty of qaris. And this is a fact. So now, if you look at what we have today, we have few scholars and a lot of qaris. Beautiful recitations, beautiful ways of leading the taraweeh, etc. However, when you look in depth, you would find that they're not implementing it. They're not walking the talk. 1 minute, he's a beautiful qari reciting the Quran. The second minute, with a musical band and singing and chanting. And what kind of Quran is this you carry in your chest? So what Abdullah ibn Mas'ud said is totally correct. And we have to go back to square one in order for us to get the benefit and to get the most of this beautiful and glorious Quran. We have a short break. Stay tuned and we'll be right back.
Explore the wisdom and balance of Islamic law. And the genius of Muslim jurists who distilled the essence of the law into short statements of potent meaning. So join me, Riaz Ansari, for a survey of Islamic legal maxims.
Appreciate the accountability of Islamic laws against all manner of corrupt practices in Islamic Legal Maxims with Riaz Ansari every Saturday at 6 p.m. and repeat telecast at 9 a.m. India on Peace TV. Dialogue. Discussion. Debate. Rebuttal. Conclusion.
Eliminate misconceptions about religion. Get enlightened.
Witness Dr. Zakir Naik in a battle of words in Crossfire every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. and repeat telecast at 10 a.m. India on Peace TV.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through the divine revelation of the glorious Qur'an and the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, has provided us the guidelines of a well-balanced and harmonious society. Whether it's in the social, the economic, the political, the judicial, educational, Islam is the solution.
Journey to Islam, next on Peace TV.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. So, when we look at the different texts, the different hadiths, we get an understanding of what we should do. A man once said to Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, may Allah be pleased with him, he said, I recite Al-Mufassal in 1 rak'ah. And Abdullah ibn Mas'ud told him that you do this as if you're reading poetry? No, this is not the way it should be done. The Prophet has warned us, alayhi salatu wasalam, from people reciting the Quran, it does not exceed their throats. But what's beneficial from reciting the Quran is what remains in the heart and one benefits of it. So going back to the previous issue, what is most important, to recite as many as you can from the Quran or to ponder upon the verses? Well, Allah has revealed the Quran